Thom and Thom, baby. We are back on Down to the Wire. You can catch us every day on the Vegas Insider podcast. Oh, I should introduce the other Thom. I just assumed you guys knew. When you see me, you see him. That's how it works. Thom Cunningham, who's on Down to the Wire for like the third or fourth time this week. The guy is just an absolute content machine. He's on fire with tennis picks per usual. Thom, how the hell are you?
I'm good. So I'm watching anyone who listened to our podcast in the morning. I talked about Kaya Kanepi possibly winning as an underdog. She's currently won the first set and is in a tiebreaker in the second set. So Sabalenka is going to have to hold on here. It looks like she might escape the second set. But yeah, I'm just real glued to this match right now between Kaya Kanepi and Sabalenka. So we'll see what happens.
Are you going to start like yelling in the middle of a segment because of something, going awry here? Or no, you're going to stay locked in?
I don't care that much. No.
Okay, so something that our audience may care about, huge news in the NBA going down, Donovan Mitchell being moved to the Cleveland Cavaliers for a haul of young guys, but Cleveland holds on to the really important young pieces on that team, right? They keep Mobley, they keep Garland, they keep Allen, and you got LeVert coming off the bench now. Donovan Mitchell is a legit star in this game, and he's going to have some fun pieces to play with here. What are your initial thoughts on this move, Thom? And did you see any movement already in the win total for the Cavs or Eastern Conference futures, anything on that side that we should be up to date on?
No, I haven't really checked out the markets after this trade. It actually took place like about an hour or so, an hour and a half before we just hopped on here. I think overall, though, I'm pretty happy with the trade if I'm Cleveland. I've been saying for a few years now they should probably look to move Colin Sexton, only because Darius Garland is so good, and you could get a lot for Colin Sexton. And so I think getting rid of him for Mitchell was good. Yeah, you gave up a plethora of picks. And then Markkanen is also gone. But as you mentioned, you kept Mobley. I think Love and Allen are still there. So what was, to me, one of the best front courts in the entire NBA still is. And you add Donovan Mitchell to play alongside with Darius Garland. So I think it's a win in terms of player personnel moves for Cleveland. Then you decide, well, 3 first-round picks, is that worth it? I don't know. That's for other people to decide. But I think in terms of the roster move, I think this works wonderfully for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm excited to see what they can do between Garland and Mitchell, which you could say is one of the best backcourts now, and then paired with 3 monsters down low that are just going to rotate between Love, Allen, and Mobley. So they kept their front court in check for most of the trade. So I like it. I know Love can't play as much as Markkanen. Obviously, the PT is going to be a factor because Love is just older than Markkanen, but they're both big men that can shoot and stretch the floor as opposed to Allen. Mobley's got a nice little jumper too. I can't really say that he can't shoot. So honestly, yeah, win all around for Cleveland. But in terms of the draft picks, I don't know if that's considered part of a win in the trade. But I think the roster, nice move for Cleveland.
I think for a team as young as Cleveland is, and with adding a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who isn't old, right? He's got a lot of good basketball left in the tank. So I'm not really all that concerned with the picks. I feel like this is a win now move. And I know the East is really top loaded these days, but you can't tell me that adding Donovan Mitchell to that young core doesn't firmly make them maybe the 5th, 6th best team in the Eastern Conference, which, is not championship level per se, but they're moving in the right direction. And we all know NBA windows are not very long. So, who knows how long the Sixers will be towards the top of the conference with Embiid having all the injuries he always has. And Brooklyn, who the hell knows what's going to happen with Kevin Durant over the next, year and a half with them, right? So at Boston, we all think they're going to be awesome. They just went on a finals run, but again, could Jaylen Brown be unhappy and eventually they have to move him? Like, things happen in the NBA. So I think Cleveland has set themselves up to have nice pieces in place, team-friendly deals, and, if a few things break a few certain ways, maybe they go on a little bit of a run. We saw the Hawks go on a run in the Eastern Conference a couple of postseasons ago. We just saw the Celtics do it kind of unexpectedly because of a Chris Middleton injury. They get by the Bucks, and then they're a Jimmy Butler 3 away from missing the finals. They end up in the finals, right? So I like this move for Cleveland. I'm not telling you to bet on them to win the Eastern Conference, and I'm not telling you to put money down on them to win the finals at, what is it now, 35-75? So, no, obviously don't do that. But this is a fun move, and it's got my antennas up.
It makes them relevant, is what it does. It makes you think a little bit. And like I said, I loved their front court last year. I think they surprised everyone with how good they played early, and then they continually played well, even though they got hit with the injury bug hard last year. Cleveland was one of the more injury-riddled teams last year, and they still kept it together and was able to do a play-in game. So I think, I'm with you. I think this just adds to the fuel to the fire for Cleveland. I do think they got better. And I'm with you. I'm not concerned about the draft picks. I know some people might be. Personally, I'm not, because I think Mitchell is he's a transcending star in this league. So you pair him with Garland in the backcourt, you kept most of your front court intact. You just need some depth at that point. And like you said, we got LeVert coming off the bench. So I think this is a huge move for Cleveland, and has to absolutely put them in relevancy talk for Eastern Conference contender.
Yeah, it's a team I wouldn't want to see in the postseason, right? Because we know Donovan Mitchell can put buckets out there in the postseason. We saw him have that duel with Jamal Murray a few years ago. And things were stagnant in Utah, and both of their stars are now gone. So the Jazz, got a great fan base, but you're probably not all that thrilled right now. But this is what Danny Ainge does, right? He goes in, he gets rid of guys that don't want to be there, and he collects assets. And I wouldn't sleep on the Jazz being relevant within the next few years, because this is the Danny Ainge model, man.
Well, they got 3 draft picks.
Exactly. So,
right.
you turn those draft picks into other draft picks, or maybe you get lucky in the mid first round on some guys. Who the hell knows?
Utah has
drafted really well.
drafted well. It really doesn't matter what position. Mitchell, Gobert, Darren Williams. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So I would trust Utah in terms of what they're doing, which is clearly a rebuild mode right now. So.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. You got to love a little NBA news here on September 1st. We'll talk more about that on Thom and Thom tomorrow morning. So check that out on the Vegas Insider podcast. Let's transition to some college football tonight, Thom. And we got some top 25 teams in action. I know we've talked about them on our podcast. We've had the Bet CFB podcast talk about games all week, but it's time. Kickoff, week 1. Real significant pigskin on the college level is happening. So what's the game you are looking forward to most tonight, and what bet do you have for that game for the people?
Well, Penn State Purdue is going to be really good, but I'm looking forward to West Virginia Pitt, and something we talked about on the podcast earlier. I'm really eager to see how these 2 quarterbacks, Keaton Slovis and JT Daniels, do in their new environment, their new schools, and they have been given the keys to the car. There's no quarterback behind them that could take their job like it's happened in the past. So I'm really eager to see how both these quarterbacks come out firing. I'm going to go with the over 50.5. That point total continues to drop. I like both quarterbacks really playing with a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, eager to prove to the country that they're still relevant in terms of Heisman contender. Because, look, JT Daniels and Keaton Slovis were the cream of the crop at one point in their careers, and they've been, ran out of the schools that they attended, USC, Georgia. So I think that they're going to be eager to show everyone what they're really made of, and you might see a shootout here. The OU last year in Pitt was 5-2 in 7 total games. So you got that going for you. And 68.9 points per game were scored in Pitt home games last year, which is 18 points more than the point total given tonight. I understand that obviously Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett were at Pitt last year. That's a huge difference maker. But I do like the quarterbacks in this, and I do think that they can keep that trend going.
So we have a question from YouTube from maybe a fringe Hall of Famer, Bartolo Colon. What's up? The big sexy himself watching us on YouTube. Probably not him, but maybe it's another Bartolo Colon. Is this your CFB lock of the night, Thom? Anything from that little game preview where you threw out a few bets that you like. Any of those your locks, or do you have a specific lock on another game for this evening that you are looking to throw down some cash?
Man, I don't like that word lock. What I can do is I can give you some point total markets.
No, lock,
lock,
or get the hell out of here. It's lock or unlock, Tom. That's it.
I don't mind going to watch the game. So that's fine. All right, let's do this. We'll go with locks just for the term, so we can make Bartolo Colon happy. We don't want to piss off an MLB Hall of Famer. So,
I probably jumped the gun calling him a Hall of Famer there.
Oh, well, I mean, he's a pitcher,
fringe,
so we got to give him that. But all right, so CMU, OK State, the under has cash for Oklahoma State in 5 of 6 games when facing a non-AP ranked school in September. The combined OU between CMU and OK State last year was 10-16. So I think the under is a good play there for Oklahoma State and Central Michigan. Moving down the list, Penn State and Purdue. Look, Penn State, they went 3-10 on the OU last year. So 10 of their 13 games have gone under. Penn State has gone under in 7 of 8 road games when facing a non-AP ranked school. And the combined over-under last year for Penn State and Purdue, when you put them together, was 8-18. So again, you're looking at a very heavily favoring trend that says under for this game. So I think those 2 games are fine to go under if you want. And then Louisiana Tech, Missouri, throwing a little curveball at you. Louisiana Tech, they've gone over the point total in 7 of 8 season opening games. And when you combine the OU between Louisiana Tech and Missouri from last year, it's 16-9 favoring the overs. The thing about this, however, is a lot of these are based off last year. And we just broke down a game with 2 different quarterbacks at West Virginia and Pitt. So you're going to have to take these week 1 trends with a grain of salt in college football for any sport, really. It doesn't matter if it's Australian football, college football, football. You got to take early trends with a grain of salt. But that's what I'm going based off of. And so I'll recommend the unders in the OK State and Purdue Penn State games. And I'll go over for Louisiana Tech and Missouri. So all point totals.
Okay, there we go. We like point totals here. Go Tigers, Mizzou Tigers. I lived in St. Louis. They love themselves some Coach Drink down there. So excited to lock into some CFB later. What do you think about Wake Forest playing later today? I know they are without their quarterback, and we talked about how a lot of these projections for teams might be faulty because college teams have such turnover year to year. But I'm curious what you think about the Demon Deacons in the ACC this season, starting the season as a top 25 team in the AP, but I know we all kind of hate the AP poll. But what do you think about Wake Forest as a heavy favorite here, 31.5 versus VMI?
Man, in terms of the spread, I have no idea.
That's huge.
That's such a big spread. Somehow it's not the largest spread of the day. I saw Toledo was a 47-point spread tonight. Yeah, it's like,
who are they playing?
You take a guess who they're playing. You're never going to guess.
It can't be another MAC school at that.
No, it's Long Island.
Okay, LIU.
And that spread has gone up to 47.5.
Wow.
As I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, Wake Forest. In terms of the spread tonight, I'm not too sure because that's such a high spread. I don't really know much about VMI. I'd be sitting here lying if I told you I knew about VMI. I can tell you one thing about military schools is they have some of the best conditioning of any other teams. And, like their basketball and their football teams are just so well conditioned. So all they do is run around and work out at a military school. I think Wake Forest, so let me see. They've seen the favorite cover the spread in 8 straight games. They've gone under in 6 straight home games when playing in September as well. So you could try to maybe make a bet with those 2 trends. Wake Forest, they went 2-4 on the over-under at home last year, and that was 61.3 points per game. You're getting a point total of 66.5 tonight. Maybe you go under. That's where I would kind of lean. But in terms of Wake Forest as a whole, because they lost their Heisman contending quarterback, Sam Hartman, they won't be – I don't think they'll be in the top 25 at the end of the year. I think they're probably the 5th best team in the ACC right now, maybe the 4th. I think the clear-cut favorites ahead of them are Miami, NC State, and Clemson. And then from there, you can maybe, pick and choose like FSU or, we'll see how they do this year.
Boston College.
I actually don't hate Boston. I like Phil Jerkovich at quarterback. But
as do I.
I think like Wake is kind of risky just to bet on this year with Sam Hartman going down. It would be one thing if it was an injury to like a wide receiver or like a cornerback, but this is like the most important position in sports, and it's a Heisman contender. It's not just some pretty good quarterback who can go in there and fill some shoes. This was a guy who had his sights set for New York. So I probably would kind of just stay away from Wake Forest, at least until, mid-season. I kind of get a better feel for what they are with their new quarterback and Sam Hartman being out. In terms of tonight, I'd probably go under, though, just based off some trends I'm reading.
So we touched on the backyard brawl at the top of this college football segment, and you talked about the quarterbacks. And just a bigger picture conversation, you got two guys that have had checkered college careers, right? Guys that came in with a lot of hype, at times were the man, and now they're just kind of both on their last part of their college story, trying to end it in a way that maybe gives them a shot at the next level in some capacity. So, Thom, I'm curious what you think on which of these two guys will A, have a bigger season, and B, possibly have some sort of noise at the next level. I'm not thinking either of these guys are going to be starting in the NFL next season, but which of these guys do you think profiles more as someone that could possibly be, in the mix as a backup and fighting for a job with the Houston Texans here in a few years?
Well, I think JT Daniels is better mobily than Slovis. So I think that would translate better to the NFL, that he can kind of, get out of the pocket and still make plays. Not really with his feet per se. Like he's not just going to run through a defense, but he can get away from the pressure. He can elude it a lot better than Slovis. Slovis is very much more traditional pocket passer, but I do think Pitt, from head coach to the talent around him, is just set up for Slovis to succeed more than JT Daniels. Just the program, the state of the program, where it's at, from top to bottom, from head coach to players, is better for Pitt. So I think Slovis is probably going to have a better year this year between the two, but I do think JT Daniels' game translates better for professional football.
All right, so speaking of professional football, let's talk about the NFC. We did this with the AFC on, I believe it was Tuesday night. All the days blend together. Monday night, it was Monday. No idea. It was Monday, I think. And we went through each division, and we said which team we were least confident in winning their division. So let's re-rack it and do it for the NFC, right? I mean, it's September 1st. We're exactly 1 week away from the NFL kicking off. We have a Twitter Spaces for Thursday night on the Vegas Insider Twitter feed, where we'll be previewing Thursday Night Football, a betting preview of the defending Super Bowl champions taking on the Super Bowl favorites for this season, the Buffalo Bills. What a sexy matchup that is. That's just dripping in sex. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to be locked in. I will actually be driving to Vermont probably during that Twitter Spaces, but I'm going to try and join the Twitter Space live from the road and give you some on-the-road analysis and musings. So let's talk NFC here. Let's talk NFC North. Which of the teams in the North are you least confident in winning the division? I think this is the easiest one we will do in the NFC.
You think that? I think there's another division that's easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've been kind of bashing the Bears a lot.
It's the Bears, man.
I actually have the Lions as least.
Wow. Okay, do tell.
As a quarterback position, I actually do have more conviction in Fields, I think, over Goff. And that's kind of where I settled, honestly, at the quarterback position. Clearly, it's not Green Bay, Minnesota, so now you're picking between Detroit and Chicago. And I know that a lot of people want to pick something different, but it's always Detroit. It's always the Detroit Lions. And look, Goff has been to a Super Bowl, okay, but I'm telling you, what I've seen out of Fields this preseason has been really, really fun. And there's a lot more positive energy with the Bears than I think we are seeing. It's almost like Justin Fields at one point said that we need to get better. We're not even close to a good football team. But I wonder if that's just a smoke show at this point. Yeah, you guys keep talking about Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins and how we're going to suck, and we'll just do our own thing. And they seem very confident in themselves throughout these preseason games. I know it's just preseason, but you look for energy, you look for non-mistake football, and you look for how they play together as a team. And these guys love Justin Fields and the throws he was making. was phenomenal. So I'm going to invest more in Fields than the Lions franchise in general. And I'm going to take Detroit as the least confident team in the NFC North for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though
so you're shorting them. You're shorting Detroit, really. It's more about you being not confident in the Lions organization to live up to the hype
and Jared
Goff. Confidence in the Bears. Okay, yeah. It's funny. Jared Goff is almost like the perfect quarterback for the Detroit Lions experience, right? Like he's just wholly disappointing. He gives you a little taste, but he's always gonna take a really bad sack or throw a bad interception. He just like embodies the Detroit Lions. It's just upsetting when you look at Jared Goff. You're like, oh, you're a professional quarterback. You're kind of a doofus. So I'm going with the Bears. I just think the Lions have better talent, and I'm siding with talent. And they almost won quite a few games last season. So I'm rolling with the young talent getting better, year of experience under their belt. I just kind of bashed Jared Goff, but I don't think he's like the worst quarterback in the NFL, right? So he'll keep you in some games here and there, probably more so than other bad teams. I like Justin Fields, but I just don't know with a first-year head coach and with the guys he has around him that he can be enough to have them finish above Detroit in the NFC North here. So I am going to go with the Chicago Bears in the NFC North. I think it's the easiest one we're going to deal with. Let's go to the NFC East here. And this is a division that we've talked about quite a bit on our podcast, Thom. The Cowboys are currently the favorites at plus 140. The Eagles right behind them at plus 150. Commanders at plus 500 and the Giants at plus 750. So I don't think, there's really a debate about the top two teams in this division. I think that you can flip a coin at this point between the Cowboys and the Eagles. A lot of love for the Eagles in recent days. I mean, those odds have shortened since we talked about them first on our podcast. The Eagles creeping up on the Cowboys as the favorite in that division. But who are you the least confident in this division to take care of business?
It was Washington for a while. But I'm kind of coming to my senses a little bit. I think look, it's just like Chicago and Detroit. Like this is going to be determined by a game, like one game. Like I could see Chicago winning 7 or 6 games and Detroit winning the 7th or 6th other, like splitting hairs here. That's what I think with the Giants and Washington. So I'm going to go with the Giants just off quarterback play. I trust Wentz way more than I trust Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones gets tackled.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, at least Wentz will like take a hit and try to make a play. Like Daniel Jones will just fall over his own ankle and get stopped at the 2. They both turnover machine. Like they're kind of like Tweedledee, Tweedledum. I've just seen a little bit more consistency out of Carson Wentz in his career. I'm not high on either, but of the two, I would rather have Wentz behind center than Daniel Jones. I think the conviction is there in terms of just the foundation of Washington. They have a good defense. Like they know who they are. They have a good defense they're going to rely on. They're going to try to run the ball a little bit, and they have a really good wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. And Logan Thomas is one of the better tight ends in the league. Now you go to the Giants and you say, okay, well, they have the same exact thing, don't they? They have Evan Ingram. They have Saquon Barkley.
No, Evan Ingram's on the Jaguars now.
Oh, so there you go. So
there you go.
There you go. Kind of proving my point. I love it.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on this.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add other than the fact that the Giants' offensive line is, I think, worse than Washington. So that's also
so bad.
Going with them.
And the thing that bums me out about the Giants is Saquon Barkley, man. Like when he was healthy in his rookie season, it was electric. And when he's been healthy and he's gotten some space, he's made some amazing plays. But maybe it's just a gut feel on my end, but all signs are pointing towards I think we've seen the best of Saquon at this point, at least with the New York Giants. It bums me out to say it, but that's kind of how I feel heading into the season. I don't see that going in the right direction. They have a first-year head coach as well. So, they're going to have to figure it out here, right? And Daniel Jones stinks. Like, how bad was that draft pick? Even in the moment, we knew it was just god awful. So I'm going with the Giants as the team I'm least confident in the NFC East. That might actually have been easier than the Bears. It was right there.
Still not the easiest.
Before we go to the next division here, whenever we get some audience interaction, we got to toss that in. So we got Aiden on YouTube saying, thoughts on Stony Brook money line and West Virginia to cover. So maybe Aiden is constructing a parlay of sorts here for the college football weekend. Thom, you got any hot Stony Brook football takes for us? I know they're a true powerhouse.
Yeah. Hey, Stony Brook. Hey, NEC, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure.
I think you're right on that.
I'm not sure. It could be wrong. I'll look for Stony Brook trends. I don't like West Virginia to cover, though. I actually think Pitt will cover. They were cover machines last year, especially at home, my goodness. But overall, Pitt at home in general covers. Now, we're basing all this off of Kenny Pickett. So, if you have conviction in West Virginia, more power to you, take it. Because, like, all these analyses that experts are giving you for week 1 of college football, especially with 2 new quarterbacks, they really, this is all a guessing game at this point because we haven't seen anything from these teams this year, unless you're following both Pitt and West Virginia spring very, very closely. And if you are, more power to you there. So, like I said, if you want to take West Virginia to cover, dude, feel free. I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to support it, but I'm not going to argue it either. I like the over. That's my best bet in that game. And I'm looking for Stony Brook. I don't know who they play. So,
well, actually, Aiden checks in with a update on Stony Brook. They play Rhode Island. Rhody Rams, baby. URI game of the year, according to Aiden Tobin here on YouTube. Rhode Island had a nice season last year. I believe they were 5-1 or 6-0 at some point heading into Villanova, and they took a private jet down to the game. They borrowed Robert Kraft's jet because Andre Tippett's son was on URI, so there was a little Patriot connection there. They got to take Kraft Force One down to Philly, and they got absolutely stomped by Villanova, and it kind of sent URI's season in the wrong direction. So Stony Brook playing Rhode Island, I'm going to just blindly back my Rhody Rams here. Rhody, Rams. Do I know what the spread is? No. Aiden, if you want to throw those numbers out, feel free. But sorry, no, do not back Stony Brook here in this parlay. Get that out of here.
The parlay sounds like it's a no for both of us. But
yeah,
maybe
you want to be careful with your parlays as it is, right? And
it's week 1. Just take the parlay, do it. Don't give us credit though if you hit. If you hit it, give yourself credit. I always tell people that. Like if you're tailing or fading people's picks, like you should get credit for it because you're the one.
Yeah, because you had the stones to follow.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're just like the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Like pick West Virginia. Yeah. So
pick URI, baby. Okay. And I didn't go to URI though, but I'm from Rhode Island, so I got to back Rhody. So
there you go.
And let's go to
2 more divisions.
2 more divisions here. Let's go to the NFC West. Again, you know what? Every division I've said it. This might be the easiest one. Do we even need to spend a lot of time on it? It's Seattle.
Yep, Seattle. And for any of you survival pool peeps out there, Monday Night Football, they host Denver. That might be a pretty good pick, Denver to win that game. It's Russell Wilson versus Seattle. I know Seattle will be ready and fired up. They might come out hot in that game. But I think if you're in a survival pool, just kind of looking at the slate, it does seem Denver might be your best bet there. So maybe consider that. But, yeah, Seattle, they're done so. That's all I got.
I think it's going to be super loud, right? And
yeah.
People have been hot on Denver. I like Denver heading into the season, but if you told me that the Broncos randomly lost this game to Seattle, like they just came out and had if it was like that New Orleans Packers game to start last season, right? Where it was just like super fluky and weird and Russell Wilson with a new team and it just doesn't click right away. And there's emotions because he's home. He'll definitely cry pregame or at least fake cry. So I agree with you. You might want to just fade the Seahawks all year long in your survivor pools, but I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if Denver lost that game.
No,
Am I crazy?
It's pro sports. So it's whatever. Like Jacksonville beat Indy at the end of last year. So
that's still the craziest
and you
game.
dropped Al Pacino impression the other day, Any Given Sunday. It's a cliche, but it's true. I just can't take Geno Smith.
He's bad.
Yeah. So
they're both really bad.
Yeah. So I'm not.
Let's check in with our man Aiden again here. He says that's not his parlay. He's got Central Michigan to cover that big number against OSU and Mizzou to cover. That's his parlay for the evening. So, okay.
Good luck, Aiden.
I can respect that.
Yeah,
good luck to you, sir. And let's go to the NFC South. Let's close things out. Again, I think this one's kind of easy. There we go. Is this the easiest segment you've ever done, Tom? It's the Atlanta Falcons, right? It's your Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, my Falcons. They are the worst team in the NFC South. Unless Desmond Ridder just comes in and shocks the world and plays out of his mind, then it might be New Orleans then, honestly. I don't mind Carolina right now. Matt Rule's coaching for his job. They got Baker. They're desperate. That doesn't always translate to success, but we've talked about the Panthers' offense. It seems pretty low-key nice with McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Terrence Marshall, and now the receiver from Jacksonville, Chenal. So I think Atlanta's an easy pick here, but if you were ever going to see Atlanta climb out of the gutter, it's because Desmond Ridder. That would be my big guess. Atlanta's defense isn't going to like stifle anyone. They haven't for years since I think Jesse Tuggle and Keith Brooking were there. Their defense has just always been pretty poor. They've kind of leaned on offense. And Ridder can get out of the pocket. Now, so can Mariota, but Atlanta's offensive line is really bad. I mean, it's a stinker. So I think you need a mobile quarterback right now for the state of that team. And I think Ridder could be that guy. But as of right now, Atlanta is the worst team in that division, and they have the lowest win total odds of the entire NFL. So I'm going to take the Falcons as the least confident team in the NFC South.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to fade the Falcons for our survivor pool that we have going with Better Collective US for week 1. They got New Orleans on the schedule. I actually placed a bet on this game like 4 months ago because I was just itching. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think the Saints are going to cover the 3.5. I think that number's now up to 5.5. So clearly the public is hammering the Saints against the Falcons here. And I think to open the season against a rival that has a really strong defense, they added Tyrann Mathieu this offseason. So, it doesn't feel like a good spot for Mariota to get things started in Atlanta. And if Ridder comes out and he's amazing, then that's an X factor. But
not
I think there's
one.
Probably he's not. First of all, unless there's an injury, he's not going to play week 1. And
right.
Mariota at quarterback, there could be an injury, right? He's like made of feathers or something. Ridder, in my opinion, when a guy falls in the draft like Ridder did, there's a reason for it. And yes, there's the outliers. There's the Bradys, and Derek Carr went semi-late, and he's had a nice career. Throw out whoever you want, right? Dak Prescott, another guy that I think he was like pick number 100 or something like that. Usually, if you fall, there's a reason, and I think that's probably what we're going to see here with Desmond Ridder. But who knows? He came out of Cincinnati, so maybe pro scouts were like, "Oh, he didn't really play anybody." But I don't know. Even if he does come out and is their quarterback at some point this season, I think the Falcons are basically going to be basement dwellers there. So there you go. Those are all the teams we hate in the NFC. Congratulations on this negativity segment, Tom. To turn things positive on the end here, let's just do a quick recap of your picks for the night for college football.
All point totals. Point total. We'll go over West Va Pitt. We'll go over Louisiana Tech, Mizzou, and then we'll go under for the other 2 games, Central Michigan, Oklahoma State, and Penn State, Purdue. So we'll go all point totals tonight in college football. So get your point totals ready.
Get your point totals on, baby.
That was kind of like the TO, get your popcorn ready, get your point total ready.
I was trying to think of like a catchy way to do that just then. I I kind of just
we're not catchy at all. So
no, it's getting late. I mean, we record our podcast every morning at 6:30 a.m. It is now 6:30 p.m. So we are wrapping up our 12-hour work days here. Tom, do you have any parting thoughts for the people?
We'll see you in 12 hours.
Check us out on the podcast, Vegas Insider Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Tom and Tom every morning. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be off Monday. So enjoy your Labor Days and enjoy the football this weekend. You got one last football weekend of just college, and then we're on to the NFL. So we're getting close, people. We're getting close. We'll see you guys later.